don't always start out my 22 handgun videos by shooting my steel plates at 100 yards. But when I do, I'm shooting a masterpiece. Let's take a closer look. Hey guys, Buffalo here. Today we're taking a look at this Smith Wesson K-22. You know, there are a lot of people who claim that there's never been a more accurate production pistol produced than one of these K-22s. And I find that hard to argue with. You know, these things were advertised to shoot 1.5 inch groups, I think it was, at 50 yards. You know, that's pretty tough to beat for a 22 pistol. A production pistol anyway. My thing with these pistols is how easy they are for the user to shoot accurately. You know, there are a lot of handguns out there that are inherently accurate, but they come with poor sights or some other, you know, a horrible trigger or some other feature that just makes it tough on the shooter to get that accuracy out of that gun. This gun is very easy, at least for me, to shoot accurately. I'm not a expert at the history of these guns and the changes that were made over the years. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes. I will try to give a brief summarization here, and if I'm wrong on some of these dates and things, feel free to correct me in the comments. I know there are a lot of people out here that, you know, they know these K-22s inside and out. Like I said, they're a great pistol, so no wonder they have such a big following. The first series of the K-22 began production in 1930 and ran through 1939 and was called the Outdoorsman. You know, most people just refer to them as the first model. In 1940, they made a few changes with the sights and the action and started calling the K-22 the Masterpiece. And these were only produced for about a year, with a little over 1,000 of them being produced. They were known as the second model. Smith & Wesson, of course, had to turn their efforts toward the war, with World War II picking up in Europe. Of course, they dropped the Target 22 line throughout the war. And after World War II, beginning in 1946 actually, they started concentrating their efforts on the civilian market again, and production resumed on these K-22s. Now, they still kept the moniker Masterpiece. They are known, you know, I guess collectors refer to them as the third model, and that's what you're looking at here today. This model was made in 1948, so it's been around for quite a while. It's been hunted with and used a lot. Like I said earlier, you can see by the wear and tear. After the war, they did have some new features like red barrels and the micrometer click adjustable rear sights. I think the 1940 model had the micrometer rear sight as well, but it didn't have the click adjustment. Maybe wrong on that. Like I said, somebody feel free to correct me. Now this one has an over travel block on the trigger and an automatic hammer block. It was a little safer to carry than the pre-war models, which like I said, that brings us to this pistol, which is made in 1948. This is the first year that Smith & Wesson started using the 4-line address on the right side of the frame. Previous models only said made in USA right there. Now this one also still has, as you can see, the top screw on the side plate. I think Smith & Wesson done away with that in about 1955. And the screw in front of the trigger guard also disappeared, I think, in 1961. But, you know, the guys, the K-22 went on to be designated the Model 17. I think they came up with the model numbers in 1957. It was sometime in the late 50s. Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and run my jaw about stuff that I barely know anything about. So this is mainly a shooting video. I wanted to get this gun out and shoot it. It belongs to a neighbor, and he brought it over and sighted it in. And I was out here shooting with him, and I couldn't believe how accurate I was able to shoot this little gun here. So, you know, I asked him would it be all right if I got it out and done a video on it and shared it with some of you guys. I'm sure that some of my subscribers will be interested in seeing this gun being shot some. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's get it started. All right, so here we are at a more common distance for a 22. We're at about 28 yards. I see the 30-yard pin just a couple of steps behind me there. Shoot a few rounds from here. Of course, it is a 6-shot. Does have the beautifully done counterbored or recessed chambers. I like that. Don't see that a lot anymore. It's a little cheaper to do without those. We'll shoot it in double action just a little bit here. Of course, those targets, those two large round targets are 12-inch plates, and then that little one off to the right is a 8-inch, I believe. So not much of a challenge from this distance, but still some pistols, you know, with a heavy double action trigger pull, and this one here is heavy too, but it's really smooth. But with that, if you get a heavy, crappy trigger pull, it can be hard to shoot. No matter how inherently accurate the pistol is, it's hard for the user to get that accuracy out of it. That is not the case with this K-22. It's got what I refer to as really fine sights on it. The notch on the back sight is really shallow. The front sight is narrow. Really made for precision style shooting. Now, double action is obviously, it's fun to shoot that way and handy for some things, but shooting this pistol in single action mode is where it's at. It's where you get your benefits from being really accurate at. Get that nice light crisp trigger pull, and this trigger does have an over travel block behind it, so you don't have a lot of over travel. Shoot some single action. Do that one more time. That's just too fun. Shooting some different variety of ammo here. That's the great thing about a revolver. Let me try to demonstrate that. I've got, let's see, I think I've got 4 different loads of ammo here. Oh, I've got some subsonics in my pocket. Yeah, I always keep a few 22 rounds in my pocket for hard times. We'll put a Remington subsonic in here, Winchester white box. I've got a few, here we go. Here's an Aguila Colibri. Very, very light round. Definitely won't cycle a semi-auto. And a Federal bulk pack 36 grain hollow point. So there's 4 rounds. Hey, wait a minute. Got a Stinger here too. CCI Stinger. So we got 5 different rounds. 5 different velocities, bullet weights, and you should hear 5 different reports if you listen closely. That's something you can't really do with a semi-auto. Got 5 rounds. Let's listen for the difference here. Man, that Stinger really picked it up there at the end. Pretty neat. But like I said, that's one of the handy things about a revolver. Let's do some more shooting. You guys get a good look at this thing from up close firing. All right, now here's from the other side. Pay no attention to my atrocious revolver grip here. I mostly shoot semi-autos and haven't got that revolver grip thing down. Let's see what's that. All right, guys, this revolver is just so much fun. I could shoot this thing all day, and you know, just the fact that it's a piece of history, no longer in production, makes it even funner. But here we are at 50 yards. Shouldn't be any trouble hitting the targets. They used to advertise these, and I may have mentioned this earlier, I may not have, at holding a 1.5 inch group at 50 yards, which is like 10 times greater than what I can hold at 50 yards anyway. So more accurate than I'm able to use. But 50 yards at these plates shouldn't be any trouble. Single action mode. Try those 12-inch circles. Pretty fair game. You get loaded back up here. You know, in revolvers, another thing I like about revolvers is it slows me down from burning through my ammo. Doesn't take long to go through a bunch of 22 ammo with a 10-22 and a couple of BX-25 magazines. Let's do this again from point of view. I know some of you guys like the point of view stuff, and some of you don't. I like it. It mixes it up a little bit, gives the viewer a different angle to see the gun in action. So I do try to mix those point of view camera angles in, and you guys see me use that, you know, heavily in the winter time when the weather's bad and I can't drag out my good camera and tripod. I'll strap on that GoPro and just go with it. But you know, I could shoot this thing all day long. It's just a pleasure to shoot. I appreciate my buddy for sending it over, letting us take a look at it. I thought I would definitely share it with you guys while I had it. So, you know, that's really all I've got, and I'll talk with you guys again soon.